What's up, it's Nez, and hello everyone, welcome back to The Letter. Last episode, we remembered why we hate Ash so much. He represents a contrived fucking love triangle put in this horror game, and we want to kill him just for that. So within 10 minutes, I'm driving out of Luxborn and heading straight for Anselm Village. In the distance, flashes of lightning light up the horizon, white and sharp against the black curtain of the night. Thunder threatens with a rumble, seconds later echoing long across the sky. And with one last roar, the skies open in earnest. The rain falling fast, steady sheets creating shallow puddles on the dirt path, drenching everything the eyes can reach. Despite having grown up in the city, I still despise the rain. Living here doesn't mean I have to like it. Lucky me, I've reached the mansion before the downpour turned torrential. The long slog from Anselm Village by foot has already been made difficult by the light drizzle and biting winds buffeting against my body every few seconds. By the time I found cover under the trees lining the vicinity of the mansion, my shoulders are already drenched. My hair is also sticking against my skin and out in every possible direction. Thankfully, the letter, taser, and gun I've brought with me has remained relatively dry. That's the most important thing. However, those are the least of my problems at the moment. Sometime after the housewarming party, Scumbag Wright has suddenly grown a brain and tightened security around the mansion. A guard is now stationed in every possible point of entry. The main entryway, the back door leading to the kitchens. Hell, it's almost a miracle no one has spotted me once I enter the property. Although that's probably because I've kept close to the forest. While I can always create a clever way in for myself under this deluge, it'll be difficult to do so without making much noise or leaving tracks.
I don't really have the luxury either, do I?
Considering how off this place feels since I've stepped in the property and the mansion came into view. Every light is off, even the security patrol outside, the whole house empty, eerie, too quiet. Normally I'll pass it off as some kind of power outage because of a storm. It's not a far off conclusion when this place is almost in the middle of nowhere. However, something just feels wrong.
Something happened here.
Or about to. It's the sole reason why I haven't done anything yet. Simply observing, watching, listening for anything. I might be pressed for time, but I'm not a careless idiot. Although I need a way in, desperately so, moving without thinking will only endanger me. With so many unknown variables in what we're dealing with, I also have to act on the assumption that someone is always in danger, especially in this place. I can't act impetuously. As much as I hate Wright, I'm not about to cause his death because of one thoughtless action. If there's a place he deserves to be at, it's in prison, not a morgue. So when a hoarse, painful sob suddenly rings out above the loud pitter-patter of rain, only then do I stir. A woman. Perhaps a servant? Or worse, Hannah Wright. It's coming from the forest? Just right up ahead, in fact, not too far from the house. Regardless, I give the place a quick, wary glance before following the noise. Carefully keeping to the shadows, one cautious step after another. Louder and louder it goes as I near. God fucking damn it, this ghost. Until it abruptly turns into a loud, desperate anguish cry. I break into a run. One nervous hand ready on my gun holstered on my hip and the other raised for balance as I scurry across the dense understory. Dense leaves crunch under my shoes, but I pay it no mind. There's only the voice, the woman, and nothing. Abruptly it all stops and I am met with a sudden hush. Blank. Empty. Almost deafening in its stillness even with my labored breathing and pounding heartbeats against my ears. Behind me another branch breaks and... no thanks. Fuck you. We're getting away from you. Dread surges within me while I spin around and take a hard step back, ignoring the chilly pinpricks crawling at the back of my neck. But before I can even meet her eyes, the world unexpectedly pitches sideways. Tilting. And tilting till the ground beneath me finally crumbles. My hands fight for purchase, only to meet air. By then, it's too late. My foot slips further and the rest of my body follows. Dark spots blur the edges of my vision. Black tendrils twist and coil around my limbs. Soft footfalls echo from the far distance, scurrying, scampering, moving in an odd rhythm with the sharp piercing notes of her laughter. But more than that are the voices, lacing venom inside every crevice in my head. Murmurs that jeer, scoff, and deride. Over, it's because you didn't listen. And over, it's all your fault. And over again. Why won't you believe me? A reminder of what I've failed to do and who I've failed. What I'm trying to desperately fix. A scream threatens to burst, but my throat closes off. Ever so slowly, a chill seeps into every nerve of my body, washing away every sensation in me apart from one. There is only fear. Oh my. Once again, her laughter echoes, a sound both bitter and unforgiving. It's the last thing I want to hear before she reaches for me. The ground trembles. The world slows to a stop. Oh, yes, we finally ended up in the dungeon. Now we can figure out what happened to Marianne. Half darkness greets me when my eyes finally snap open, the soft patter of dripping water somewhere spurring my consciousness further. For a few short moments, I remained still, blinking away in dizziness, allowing my vision to adjust to the lack of light and my breathing to even out first, before pushing myself on one arm and attempting to stand. Turning alone is a struggle on its own. An inch of movement sends a stab of sharp pain right up my arms and my back, giving me another pause.
Shit. We didn't break anything. Fuck.
I sure hope you did break something, because you're not getting out of here, Ash. There doesn't seem to be any injury or major fracture, although the whole of my back does feel sore and raw. Probably from when I've skidded down prior to landing here myself. A comforting thought. The second attempt comes easier later, though no less painful. And by the time I'm back on my feet, the exertion has left me gasping in short, shallow breaths and leaning heavily on the wall nearest to me. Behind me, a light draft blows in from where I've fallen in, coming in short, sharp bursts into what's apparently an underground tunnel, and brings in fresh, earthy smell of rain from the top side. Regardless, it fails to mask the old, musty scent of the place, a mixture of mold, mildew, dust, grease, and something distinctly foul, like death. More worrisome than the putrid festering smell, however, are the cells that line both sides of the tunnel. Under the dim light, I can barely make out what's inside one of them, but I already have a few ideas, all of which I refuse to delve into at that moment. Knowing how long this mansion has stood, somehow, no matter how unexpected finding the existence of this place is, it isn't too surprising.
I wonder if Scumbag knows about this.
Probably not, unless he's also the kind of person who takes joy in inflicting this kind of suffering on others. I don't really think so. He's rotten to the core, but not that rotten. He'll probably balk at this, move out at the first opportunity, and have it demolished. The very idea of what has occurred in this place years ago makes me real as well. I've known long ago places like this tend to hold secrets. This, though? If this is just the tip of the iceberg, I fear what I may discover in the mansion itself and the tale behind the fucking letter. But fear's inconsequential. As unpleasant as the sight of this place might be the only way for me to get inside unnoticed. Sighing, taking one last gulp of clean air, I push away from the wall and delve deeper into the passage.
Let's just hope it'll be smooth sailing from here on.
Turns out that alone is too much to ask for this early. No 20 paces into it, another sound abruptly rises from the footfalls. Marianne? Rebounding off the hollow walls and echoing inaudibly across the whole span of the tunnel, before fading away just as swiftly as it rang. I pause, nevertheless straining my ears for more of it, while I gradually move my hand to my side, slow and steady until the tips of my fingers brush off the gun's handle. Although cold against my skin, it's the closest thing I have to a comfort at this moment. For a long minute, I wait, holding my breath, watching every form, edge, and shadow at the corners of my vision for any movement. After a heartbeat and nothing, I allow the tension to ease out of me in the form of a long, slow exhale that reverberates around the whole passage.
Who's there?
Marianne? Perhaps it's because of what happened earlier and how I ended up here, or maybe it's because of my training. But in spite of the panic and fear in that voice, I don't immediately answer. Instead, I pull my gun free from its holster and wordlessly draw closer to where the voice rings out once again. Afraid. Frantic. Weak?
I'm asking you a question. Who's there?
Marianne, it's us, Ash. It's only after I've released the safety do I answer, while continuing my approach in a careful, steady pace.
I think I should be the one asking you that. Who are you? Show yourself!
I can't. I'm stuck in here.
Well, a ghost will definitely not be saying that, or have a conversation like this, or be stuck anywhere. As if to prove a point, she extends a hand from one of the cells ahead and waves. Then she pulls back, grips the iron bars, and rattles it lightly.
I can't get out. Can you help?
She left Marianne alive, but why? In 5 quick steps, I'm standing in front of the cell, and sure enough, a woman's inside. Slumped on the floor, holding the bars with shaky hands, clinging to it as if it's the only thing keeping her upright. And not just any woman.
You? McLaughlin?
Close enough. The one I met at G's 5 days ago, smashed drunk and babbling her frustrations about her employers.
Holmes?
No, not McLaughlin. McCullough. Marion McCullough, famous interior designer extraordinaire. Not so extraordinary now with how exhausted and feeble she looks, trapped in a jail cell of all things. Her breathing's shallow and there's a paleness to her complexion. Sunken eyes, cracked lips, dry skin, all signs pointing to starvation and dehydration.
What? You How long have you been stuck in here?
3 days? 4? I don't know. I have no idea anymore. I just fell in and that woman, whatever. Can you get me out of here? Please.
In a moment. But here, go feed yourself first before you fall over.
I fish out an energy bar from my pocket and hand it to her. She's lucky I always have one on my person. She's lucky you're a fucking dweeb. For sudden emergencies or extended stakeouts, a little sugar to keep me going. Like any starving person, she wastes no time making a grab for it, unwrapping it straight away, and taking in whole mouthfuls of it. Relief washes over her face on the first bite alone, although she's going to need more than that if what she said is true. But for the moment, it's enough to keep her alive. Good thing she seems to have a sense to prioritize survival over comfort if the puddle on the corner of the cell indicates anything. Without water, the human body can only survive 3 days. No food, and I'll give it an average of 3 weeks, though even then it won't be a pretty experience. Granted, some have survived longer than that. She's still fortunate I've found her when I did. Now to get her out. My bobby pins won't be of any use here, not like I need it. Unlike the ones we have at the precinct, a simple barrel hinge holds the gates to the cell together. Even without any special tools, I'll be able to lift the door and free her. However, with how heavy it seems, I'll need a lever of some sort to help.
What are you looking for?
Some wood, a 2x4 I guess, a plank or a pipe?
We'll need some leverage.
Anything I can use as a lever. Wait here.
The hallway yields nothing but dust, dirt, and a few rusted chains scattered about. While I may find something in one of the open cells, I'm reluctant to check and even step in. We can't have another person trapped in here, however McCullough ended up inside.
Well, there's no...
My head snaps back to her. McCullough extricates a wooden board from under the mess of hay and twine near her. Without prompting, she slips it through what little space there is between the bars. It's short, but appears thick and sturdy enough for my intended purpose upon closer inspection.
Good enough.
I hope. I get to work at once, anchoring the other end of the plank at the base of the door and applying ample force on the other end. It takes a bit of effort, no kidding about the heavy part. Still, a grunt, a gasp, a creak. In a matter of minutes, with a little help from her on the other side, the door eventually lifts off its hinges. Hooray, we saved Marianne! It falls on the ground with a loud, ugly metallic thud, but the sound of it puts elation on McCullough's face. She doesn't even ask for help. As soon as she can, she hastily crawls out of the prison she's accidentally found herself in. More than happy to get out of it, despite lacking the strength to stand firmly on her feet.
Thank you so much. After the second day, I was so sure I was going to die in there.
But why did Sakako keep you alive?
If you didn't show up, today, I don't even want to think about it.
How did you even end up here?
For a second, she appears hesitant, looking away and fumbling awkwardly with her fingers.
I was looking for something, someone.
A contemplative expression flickers in her eyes, something that's close to wistful, like when a person remembers a memory she's fond of. It doesn't last too long, but it still leaves me the impression that I've suddenly walked into something private. Something deeply personal for her I'd rather not ask.
So this whole tunnel, at the end of it, it leads right inside the mansion?
The wine cellar.
Right into the kitchen, then?
There's a door of some sort. I don't know. I think I pulled or pressed something somewhere. I was in a hurry, and I'm not sure if it'll open from this side. Hell, this place wasn't even in the floor plans.
What do you mean?
Does that really matter now? We have to get out of here. People died in this place. Kids! Oh God! Kids! I could have shown you, but that thing won't turn back on anymore. It's like it only waited for me to see it before shutting down or something. How long has that thing even been in there? But those poor kids. All because of that thing.
Wait, hold on. What are you talking about right now?
Ashton motherfucking Frey, you've already seen the ghost. What do you mean you have no idea what's going on?
The bloody letter! Ever since I've read that thing, since that day at the open house, she won't leave me. But it should be fine now, right? I broke it. I broke all of it. She shouldn't be able to do anything now.
McCullough, one at a time.
It's all that fucking paper's fault! Oh God! Oh God! Dear Lord in St. Adelaide, bless those poor souls. We're not safe here. We need to leave. If we stay here any longer...
Please don't say that. That's gonna make her come out.
McCullough!
Abruptly, she stops, looking back at me with wild, panic-stricken eyes. I've seen enough of it so many times these past few days, with my own friends even. To know she's seen things, the kind that'll make any person go mad. And perhaps we slowly are. The longer the stakes, the faster our descent into it becomes. I can't even tell which one's worse, death or this. Seems like no matter what we end up with, there'll be something horrible waiting for us. I need to hurry.
Listen, I need to get inside this place, and you're more familiar with its layout. If you can help me...
What? No! Why would I go back? Are you sure you haven't gotten raving mad yet?
We're trying to break the curse.
An exit's right here.
And this business with the letter has to end at some point. Look, I know you're not very fond of Luke Wright.
Damn right I'm not. He can just go.
But are you really sure you want to leave him like this? And what about his wife?
It strikes a chord. She falters, grows quiet as the tension lifts from her and her shoulders slump. I do understand her issues with this. In fact, she doesn't have to go with me, only tell me enough info so I can figure it out on my own. She can always leave afterwards, be done with the whole damn mansion in the letter. The other end of the tunnel leads right into the forest. It'll provide an ample cover for her to be able to slip out of the property unnoticed. All the same, she steels herself and squares her shoulders.
Just until the kitchens.
That's more than enough.
She nods, albeit weakly. Then, without another word, she gestures for me to follow, leading me further into the passage. Occasionally, she'll stop, find purchase on the wall to catch her breath, but throughout the short walk, she asks for neither a break nor assistance. I suppose that's something we have in common. Eventually, we get to a dead end. Although before I can question her on it, she begins palming for something on the wall, tracing her fingers along weathered edges of the bricks with a frown on her face.
It should be somewhere here, I think.
What the hell are you doing?
She merely holds up a hand, begging for my silence, and continues searching. Then, without a warning, a minute later, something clicks. A portion of the wall shifts ajar to reveal a glimpse of another room. Bottles lining the wall, liquor barrels for aging. The wine cellar indeed.
The ladder to the kitchen is on the far end of this room.
Surreal. This is all nothing but a surreal nightmare, but after everything, should this even surprise me? Ghosts, curses, hidden passages? I can't even bring myself to question the existence of this door anymore. I simply follow her to the undercroft without a single question, in spite of a number of them already swimming inside my head. As a kid, I used to crave for this kind of adventure. The stuff of mystery and detective novels, daring cases, interesting cases to solve, suspects to put behind bars, justice to serve. I was blinded, I admit. Now I simply want this to be over. We leave the door open in case there's a need for a quick exit, especially after she mentions it's only by chance she's been able to open the door last time. We can't waste time finding the switch again on the occasion something goes horribly wrong. There's bound to be, with me feeling this high-strung and tense. I'm not even sure why I thought it would be a good idea to enlist McCullough's help. Although she's been quite helpful so far, I can't shake off the horrible feeling something's going to happen to her if she stays with me. Even if I'm her safest bet if she wants to get out of this place alive.
You really believe that, don't you?
Motherfuck!
Did you say something?
McCullough pauses mid-step, turning to me confused.
I didn't.
You sure? I just heard...
Don't you think I'll be the first person who'll know? Look, the ladder leading to the kitchen's up ahead. You might want to hurry. I just want to be done with this place.
See? You dragged another one.
This time I'm sure. There's really a voice. Well, voices. Despite the look of protest McCullough shoots me, I find myself stopping and looking for it, searching the immediate surrounding for the familiar form of the woman. I don't even have to venture too far from where I'm standing. Just an arm's length away from me, mirror shards litter the floor. And right on the biggest fragments, they speak. All singing the same mocking tune against my ears, letting it echo throughout the small undercroft. Murmurs and laughters, jeering, scoffing, deriding, lacing venom into every crevice in my head, taunting me.
You dragged another person into this, Ashton.
Into another one of your silly little problems.
All because you can't fix them on your own. You really haven't changed, have you? Some hero you are.
Useless.
Pathetic.
You're wrong.
My mistake lies in the first instance I've answered. Very second denial has slipped out of my mouth, their words have seeped into my heart, allowing it to prod at and rouse my temper. Despite knowing that they're merely doing this to goad me, each word, each syllable trickle into me, spurring the guilt I hope I've long buried.
Are we? Or is that simply what you've been telling yourself all this time? Something to make yourself feel better, perhaps?
You're the one who took that letter off Isabella's hand that day. You're the one who opened it.
How does it feel, I wonder? To know you're responsible for all of this?
What do you think I'm doing? Why do you think I'm still trying to fix this?
It's already too late, and you know that. You know all of this is futile.
Just face it, Ashton Frey. You're a failure, and they are the ones who have to pay for it.
A badge and a gun, and you still can't protect your own friends. Can't even solve a case for an old man.
Can't even bring Luke right to justice.
Can't even keep his own family together. No wonder they left you. Before you do the same thing to them.
Mom and Dad are better off without little old you, aren't they? It's a good thing they had the sense.
Damn, this ghost doesn't know when to let up.
Pitiful, isn't it? Some detective you are. Some friend you are. Some son you are. You might as well just throw that rank away. You're no use to people either way.
Shut it!
I hate this. I hate how this monster can easily get through to me. Every weakness, every insecurity it knows, to hear it said in my friend's voice, even more so. But what I hate above all of this is...
You know it's true, though.
All of it. It's why all you can do is tell us to shut up. You don't want to hear a single word, because you're already aware of it. You can't even admit it to yourself. Who's the coward now?
But no matter how hard you try, you're not gonna be able to save anyone.
Shut it! Not a single word anymore!
In the end, your own incompetence will eventually lead to the deaths of everyone you care about.
It laughs, sharp and piercing. At its sound, something in me snaps, a rage hastily unfurling, red filling my vision, and the next thing I know is I'm raising my hand and... Something grabs at my wrist, followed by a buzz as another voice breaks through the haze.
Don't listen to it!
The fog from my mind lifts. Every sound, every noise returns to me, flooding my every senses. All at once, there is this deafening silence. Slowly, I become aware of my surroundings. Bottles of wine, barrels of liquor, the faint old scent of death and decay somewhere, and a hand holding onto my wrist, as if to keep me from hurting myself. In my hands, a shard. Blood drips from where it cut my palm, trailing down my wrist until it disappears behind my sleeve. Not too deep, negligible even. There's pain, however, a different kind. An ache somewhere else that stems not from the wound, but every single word has hit. When I glance up at McCullough, she merely stares at me with wide, horrified eyes.
Don't listen to it! No matter what happens, don't do what it says! It's how it gets us.
My grip on the shard falters, but only after I nod and drop it entirely does she release her grip. Afterwards, she simply steps back and looks away, hugging her arms closer to herself. She breathes a sigh, heavy. Perhaps weighted with her own guilt, what this monster might have used against her.
Come on, we're getting close.
She walks off without another comment, but there's worry in her as she gives the fragments one last glimpse. On the ground they lie lifeless now. No more voices, no more insults, but even as I walk away, one whispered taunt continues to ring in my ears.
It's useless, Ashton Frey. You are going to die.
Yes, you are, Ash. We're here to make sure you don't come out of this alive.
And you are going to die alone.
Excuse me. A fear. One that has been kept long in the darkest place in my heart. One that a small part of me wishes for. The trapdoor swings open without much of a fuss. It isn't even locked, probably left open for when Wrights ask for some midnight snack. I make sure the coast is clear, of course, before I pull myself and help McCullough up. The butler of theirs is nowhere to be seen. He's probably sleeping, attending to his master, or doing some extra late night work before turning in for the night. Meanwhile, Wright won't touch anything to do with menial chores, not even with a 10-foot pole. It's next to impossible for him to linger here. No servants. No anyone. And just as easy as that, we're in. Gently I close the hatch. If things go well, the same path will be our way out. If our luck doesn't hold, that's not an option now, is it? I have people waiting for me. I really don't want to think of what might happen. Sometimes it's best if we revel in the little victories. They're great blessings when everything else is going against you. And in a place like this, fraught with unknown dangers, it's a feeling that lasts only but a second. Suddenly a sob, ringing out from some distant part of the house, echoing throughout its empty halls. Beside me, slumped on the ground, pale and breathing heavily, McCullough immediately tenses. Her eyes grow wide and she grips the side of the counter with a force that might be enough to crack it, if only she has the strength. As it is, she can barely stand. She hasn't fully recovered, makes sense of the 3 or more days without proper food or water. And it's in this weakness that puts the fear in her eyes. She's aware. If something happens, if there's a need to run, she won't be able to. She's a liability at this point.
Holmes, I really don't think going any further is a good idea. Look at this place. Everything seems fine. Nothing's off. Maybe we should just go? I really don't like the sound of that.
You really don't have to come with me. Just until the kitchen, yeah? We're already here. You've done your part. From here on, I'm going on my own.
Yes, I said that, but...
Can you even stand?
She doesn't answer.
You'll only be putting yourself in more danger if you follow after me. You have an easy way out of here. Stay here. Once you're okay, I need you to get yourself out of this place.
What? I'm not going to leave you!
Well, I'm not taking you with me either, lady. So it's here or out there.
You really are mad, aren't you?
Probably all will be, if no one fixes this little curse problem we have.
You think you'll find something in here? This is just a mansion, for God's sake!
Maybe. It's worth a shot. Besides, if what we're hearing right now says anything, I'd say scumbags.
Who?
Right. He might be knee-deep in trouble and he has no idea about it.
McCullough still appears as if she's about to argue, so instead of more words, I unholster my taser and hand it to her. A standard issue of every member of the Luxembourg police force, but it shouldn't take a genius to know how to aim and fire one. Even Isabella may just be able to use it without training. Yet Miss Interior Designer Extraordinaire stares at it as if I've just handed her something particularly nasty.
Listen, you want to wait? Fine. I'm leaving this with you. But if I don't come back here within 15 minutes, I want you to backtrack and get the hell out of here.
Are you daft, Holmes? I already told you!
In case something goes wrong, I need someone who can tell people what's going on. Who can tell my friends what might have happened here. They're at the crawl. You know the place, right?
Letting the meaning of my words hang in the air. I want to be optimistic about this, really. However, I'm going against something almost everyone can't quite understand. I'm just being realistic about my chances. McCullough seems to understand this as well after what I've said. Any sign of protest has already died from her tongue and she simply looks at the taser quietly. After a moment, she just nods. Beyond the walls of this room, the cries continue to grow louder, and I take it as a sign to leave. Without another word, I slip out of the door. Like a siren call, her voice beckons. Finding out who that is seems a good place to start as any. I keep to the shadows for the most part. Not that there's any need to, the entire place just feels empty. Odd when a house this big should have a large staff. You'd think there'll be one or two roaming about for some late night chores, or someone seeking out whoever's creating this ruckus. There's none, however.
Shouldn't they have security posted inside as well?
They're all dead. Unless their security means the butler, though I doubt Scumbag's that sloppy. He loves his life more than anything. Probably more than his own wife. And the things he's done, he's bound to make more than an enemy or two. He's also the kind who'll do anything to keep himself safe. Alive.
I wonder what he'll say when he finds out that there's something not human living with him in his own house.
Potential dangers aside, being on my own grants me a greater degree of mobility, which I'm more comfortable with. Sure, I could have enlisted McCullough's help. Next to the people who owns this, she's probably the one who's most familiar with the mansion. But the cons of bringing her outweigh the pros. She's better off somewhere, a quick exit's in sight. With no tag along, I only have to worry about myself, watch my back. Selfish, I know.
Unnecessary.
In the same manner this whole plan is, no matter how idiotic going into this is. Besides, I don't really need a guide when the house's layout is fairly simple, almost mirrored with only a few modifications in the rooms. Although I've only been here once, I think I already have a good grasp of this place's in and outs. As long as you can tell which is east and west, it shouldn't be hard to find my way around. After the dining room, the main foyer should be the next thing that greets me. Where the woman's cries are leading me. Honestly, after what happened outside, I'm not even sure if I should be trusting what I'm hearing. But with the whole house somehow devoid of any of its inhabitants, I'm inclined to look into this. More than surviving this curse, a huge part of this is my training speaking.
Just hope this isn't a crime scene I'm walking into.
But nothing's ever that simple, isn't it? Not when you're dealing with the supernatural, nope. Because as soon as my feet crosses the next room, something shifts. Fuck. Flash nearly without fanfare. It happens in the blink of an eye. I almost miss it. One moment, there's red. Next, I'm standing alone in the foyer. For a brief instant, I pause, glancing wildly around the place, blinking twice as if my movements will spur the vision back. Yet, nothing. No blood dripping on the walls, none trailing down the stairs or pooled on the floor, no eyes watching my every movement. Only the same cries gradually growing in intensity the longer I dally, along with a voice. Anna! My blonde waifu! Desperate.
Where are you, Mother?
pleading.
Mother, please. I don't want to be alone.
Coming from the same direction I've heard the cries from. Upstairs. The place is not entirely empty then. A better question now is who? Definitely not Scumbag or the butler. I've yet to see hide nor hair of them, and not knowing their whereabouts puts me on the edge. I have to be careful not to make any noise or be seen. Maybe the wife? No one can't really tell if it's her, the way the walls echo her voice. Nevertheless, it pushes me to move. Taking almost 2 steps at a time, despite the sickening feeling that something's lurking behind every great shadow, every small corner I pass. As if the house has several eyes watching my every movement. As if something alive dwells behind the walls itself. And it's back. Prepare to die, Ash. I try to shake it off, but the uneasy sensation has already made home at the pit of my stomach. Dread, and it only grows deeper the closer I get to her. The relative emptiness of the place doesn't help either. Neither does the harsh wind battering the windows nor the sheets of rain pelting down the roof. For a fleeting second, I find myself wishing for Scumbag to simply show up. I don't get too far down into that train of thought. Abruptly, the cries stop, placing it with,
Please. She's here. She's here, Mother. She's going to take me. She won't leave, Mother.
Anna?
I don't want to go with her. Tell her to go away. Mother! Mother, she's here! Help!
That can't be good. Adrenaline overcomes me in a rush. In no 2 heartbeats, my feet's already moving, before any sense can catch up or doubt creeps up to me. My hands ready at the holster as I hastily set off for the far side of the hall. One alarm footstep after another while struggling to keep the sense of panic at bay. A door lies ajar at the end, and coming from the floor above,
She's going to hurt me! Help me!
I do not hesitate. Moving in despite the lack of light, the steep stairs, or the thick layer of dust kicking up with my every step. I pause only a moment upon reaching the top. Then, without wasting a second, I push the door open. The shit? What the fuck? You're not our blonde waifu. You're a different waifu. A waifu covered in blood. She sits in the middle of the room, shoulders hunched, shaking. Her hands cover her face as she weeps, oblivious to my presence. It's as if she has heard neither my footsteps nor the soft creaking of the door, continuing undisturbed like I'm standing in a time far removed from her. She doesn't even flinch when I call out to her.
Hey, are you alright?
Mother. I've done it, Mother. Take me with you, please. I can still hear her. She's here. Help me! Help me, please!
Belatedly, I notice the blood on her hands. If it's the same one drenching the whole attic, I'd rather not know. How the whole room ended up like this is the least of my problems at the moment. Even a single human body doesn't have this much blood. So bodies? Thoughts sent an unpleasant twinge in my stomach. Does Wright even know about this? He's bad news, alright, but this? This is beneath him. He'll definitely balk at the sight of this. Anyone will. Yet the woman lingers here, unmoved by the sight, letting her sobs fill the room, repeating the words over and over again like a prayer of salvation. Whom? The mess of parchment she's left on the floor? She wrote the letter. Just what the hell is happening?
Hey, lady, are you?
The rest of that question never makes it out. I don't even see it coming. Should have been more aware and on guard, really. But there's little I can do when a well-placed blow to the back of my knees makes me stumble.